All right, Raider Nation. Today we're going to talk about the top free agents that I think Pete Carroll and the Las Vegas Raiders should really take a look at trying to bring in for the 2025 NFL season. There are some holes on the roster, and I know that everybody wants to talk about the quarterback. We're not going to talk about the quarterback situation today. We're going to talk about some other holes that I think that the Raiders really need to take a serious look at. So here are a few of my top free agents that the Raiders should absolutely pay attention to and maybe make a serious offer for. Number one on my list is defensive end Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is an unrestricted free agent, and he has posted that he needs to reevaluate his career and where he is going with it. And i.e., he is basically saying not super happy where he's at in LA. And it could be time for Khalil Mack to make a return to the silver and black and retire as a Raider. Now, I understand, and I talked about this in yesterday's video briefly. Last year, he only had 6 sacks, so this was a down year. The year previously, he had 17, but remember, 6 of those were against Aiden O'Connell in a single game. Khalil Mack is still a force. He is a guy that represents our offensive coordinators and line coaches' attention. He garners attention because this dude is so versatile, and he is so athletic, and he is so gifted, and he is so good at his craft that if you ignore him, he will eat you alive. So yes, I know he had a down year, but 6 sacks is still better than pretty much everybody that we had on the Raiders last year. So if Khalil Mack comes in 2025 and he gives us 6 sacks, that's better than anything else that we've had. And I think that it was dirty the way that he was traded. You know, everybody was making money on the offense, but then John Gruden didn't want to give him a good payday, and he absolutely deserved it. The Raiders defense suffered. Now, if you bring in a Khalil Mack opposite of Max Crosby, and you have a healthy Christian Wilkins, you're going to have a dynamic pass rush with the Raiders defense, and I think it just makes sense. He's not going to be uber expensive because of his age and having a down year last year, so we could get him at a reasonable rate and give him a 1 or a 2 year contract and let him retire as a Raider. And listen, even if his production is 80% of what it was just a couple of years ago, that is still better than everybody that we have with the Las Vegas Raiders right now. Except for Malcolm Koonce. I would say Malcolm Koonce is still up and coming, and Malcolm Koonce has shown a lot of promise, but he didn't get to play last year because of his injury, and we don't know how well that injury is healed up. We don't know if Malcolm Koonce is going to be 100% ready to go, and we don't know if he's even going to re-sign with the Raiders. That may or may not happen. The Raiders may not even offer him a contract. We just don't know that yet. So going out and getting Khalil Mack, re-signing Chase on, try to re-sign Malcolm Koonce, and let Mack retire as a Raider, you're going to have a lot of depth there at defensive end. And the defensive line needs some serious depth because we got crushed with injuries last year. I think you bring back Adam Butler as well. And I think John Jenkins, you could probably let him walk this year. And we just keep moving forward and progressing with Tyree Wilson on the inside, which I think he is better at on the inside as a run stopper. He's a great run stopper, just not that great at creating pressures on the quarterback. And so you could use him as a kind of a hybrid defensive end, defensive tackle, and let him continue. And let Khalil Mack, the Hall of Fame Khalil Mack, guaranteed he will be there, retire as a Raider and help this defense get solidified for Pete Carroll's defense that he's going to institute with the Raiders. So that's my number one guy. Let me know, would you like to see Khalil Mack come back to the Raiders? Drop a comment down below. Now, let's get into free agents. Now, wide receiver, I've talked about this guy before. He's probably the best wide receiver that's going to hit the market. I don't believe that the Bengals are going to try and bring him back, and I really don't believe that they're going to try and franchise him for the 2nd straight year. I think if they do that, he will probably just hold out and not even show up for camp until they finally just cut him and let him go to another team, because he has expressed in so much without just outright saying it that that's a no-go for him. T. Higgins is an X receiver. He is a guy that you put out there in the X and you let him fly. He is big. He gets great contested catches. He can run the slots. He can run the short routes. He can run every route out there. He's not uber fast. He's not going to, light up. He's not Tyreek Hill. But on a one-on-one situation, you throw him the ball. Just throw it up there because he's bigger than the cornerbacks and he's great at contested catches. And this is why I think you go out and you get a T. Higgins. Now, the only knock with T. Higgins has been his health issues. He has not been able to really complete an entire season. He's just constantly getting injured. With that being said, if he gets you 12 games out of a year, it's still better than what we have right now. Jakobi Meyers is fantastic. I'm glad he's on the team. But Jakobi Meyers, as an X receiver, doesn't really make a lot of defenses scared. He's going to get his catches. He's going to get his 1,000 yards, and that's great. But Jakobi Meyers is better at playing in the slot where he can do a multitude of different things like run blocking as well as pass pro. He can do all kinds of trick plays, including becoming a quarterback when needed in a trick play like that. Jakobi Meyers is better as a slot, so you go out and you get T. Higgins. Do you want to see T. Higgins in the silver and black? Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about T. Higgins coming to the Raiders and just upgrading our wide receiver room. Because if you do that, then it allows the Raiders to pass on Ted McMillan in the draft. Because otherwise you have to draft Ted McMillan. If Ted McMillan is there at number 6 and you don't have a true wide receiver X, then you have to go and draft him. And I think that would be a waste of a draft. Not saying that he's not worthy of it. He absolutely is. He is a true X wide receiver and he's going to be a stud in the NFL. But we have other holes. So if we can plug that hole with T. Higgins, then the Raiders can plug another hole. And I know a lot of people are not going to like this, but then I think that you go and you draft, if he's available, Ashton Jeanty. There's also a couple other running backs that you could maybe trade back and draft later, but we need a running back. We need a real running back. Zamir White, not it. And I don't know that there's not really, in this free agency that's coming up, there's not really any running backs that are going to be worth going out and getting. It's just like another Alexander Madison. So I think we're going to have to draft a running back. Now, we could do that in the second round. There's going to be some guys there. It's a loaded running back draft. But I just think Ashton Jeanty is special. I think Ashton Jeanty is going to be a guy that's going to come in. He's going to be an instant starter. And he's going to be an instant star just like Brock Bowers. And so I know that's not free agency, but it's related to the free agency because I don't see any running backs in the free agency that are going to be worth a darn. And so I think you got to draft Ashton Jeanty. Now, with the quarterback situation, because this is saying that we're not going to get a quarterback, I said I wasn't going to talk about the quarterback, but I'm just going to say this. Right now, the inside reports are saying, and I'm not confirming this at all, because I cannot confirm it. It's not directly from a source that's going to be related to this. But Sam Darnold is apparently high on the list for the Las Vegas Raiders. This could be a lot of conjecture. It could be a lot of rumor. It could be a lot of falsehood, or it could have some truth. There's definitely smoke behind it, so we do have to pay attention to it. You could see a Sam Darnold. For me, I don't like it. I think Sam Darnold's a fine quarterback, but I think Aiden O'Connell's a fine quarterback, and I don't see much of a difference between either one of those two guys. And so why go and pay $100 million to Sam Darnold when you could just keep Aiden O'Connell on his rookie contract and let him be the starter this year? I would rather see you go out and you get a Justin Fields. Listen, a lot of people don't like this, but Justin Fields played pretty darn well, going 4-2 in the Pittsburgh Steelers as the starter before they pulled the plug on him because they did not want to give up an extra round draft pick for him to the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields showed some improvement. Now, you put a Justin Fields with a legendary coach like Pete Carroll, and I think he might be able to get the best out of a Justin Fields. So there's a couple of my free agents that are going to be out there on the market. Now let's talk about some of our homegrown guys definitely got to re-sign Nate Hobbs. We've talked about this before. If you let Nate Hobbs walk in the free market, you are absolutely stupid. He is one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the NFL. I think you bring back Trayvon Moring. I've seen enough progression out of him that he is going to continue to just get better at that safety position. I like to see Trey Taylor, who's already on the team, rookie last year, didn't get to play due to injury. I like to see him get some shot out there and see what he can do because he is a stud. And then Robert Spillane, you got to bring back Rob. You got to bring him back. He is the lifeblood of the secondary at that linebacker position. He is the quarterback of the secondary, the linebackers, like the whole thing. You got to have him. He's a great leader in the locker room, and his production has been absolutely phenomenal. So you definitely do not want to let him walk. Listen, if there's any free agents out there that you want to see come to the Raiders, then let me know down in the comments, and I'll think about doing a video about them. Until then, guys, can't wait to see you in the next video. Let's go Raiders!